Can one nation attempt to change another nation's leader simply because they refuse to comply and become a puppet? This has been a common tactic employed by Western powers against numerous African leaders, and now they are targeting Ibrahim Traoré. From sanctions and misinformation to attempted coups, they have employed various strategies. However, Traoré's resilience has thwarted their efforts so far. Historically, they have resorted to assassinating leaders who displayed greater resilience. The question now is, will history repeat itself? Will the people of Burkina Faso allow this to happen? Let's find out. Across the African continent, a wave of inspirational leaders is dedicated to developing their countries and promoting prosperity. Among these leaders, individuals like Ibrahim Traoré have become icons of creation, working tirelessly to raise the standard of living for their people through freedom of choice and environmentally friendly development. However, an alarming pattern has emerged, suggesting a covert underworld of Western resistance to leaders who reject the conventional wisdom about being manipulated by other forces. These African leaders are in the middle of a well-publicized campaign meant to topple their authority, even though their supporters applaud them for their dedication to national sovereignty and independence. But how has Traoré appeared as a threat to the West? Captain Ibrahim Traoré ascended to the presidency of Burkina Faso in 2022, determined to sever ties with France and other Western nations that had long influenced the country's affairs. Formerly a French colony, Burkina Faso had relied heavily on French military assistance to combat various threats. However, after numerous failed attempts by coups to overthrow him, Traoré made the bold decision to cut all connections with France, which was viewed as a colonial authority unable to control radicals effectively. This move marked the beginning of his journey towards achieving true independence for Burkina Faso. The early days of Traoré's leadership were fraught with challenges. Burkina Faso had been in turmoil for years, struggling with insurgencies and economic instability. The influence of France, while substantial, had done little to stabilize the nation. French troops had been stationed in the Sahel region, including Burkina Faso, to combat Islamist militants, but the security situation had only deteriorated. Traoré's rise to power came at a time when many Burkinabés were losing faith in the effectiveness of French intervention and yearning for a new path. Traoré, a former captain in the Burkinabé army, was not a politician by trade, but a soldier with a vision. His background gave him a unique perspective on the country's security issues and the failures of foreign intervention. His first major act as president was to announce the expulsion of French troops from Burkina Faso, a move that sent shockwaves through the international community. Many questioned the wisdom of this decision, fearing it would leave the country vulnerable to militant attacks. However, Traoré was resolute in his belief that Burkina Faso needed to take control of its destiny. Traoré's decision to cut ties with France was not solely about security, it was also a symbolic gesture aimed at reclaiming Burkina Faso's sovereignty. The colonial legacy of French influence had long been a source of contention in the country. By severing these ties, Traoré aimed to send a clear message. Burkina Faso would no longer be a pawn in the geopolitical games of Western powers. Instead, it would forge its path, free from the shadows of colonialism. The transition was not easy. Without French support, Burkina Faso faced significant challenges in maintaining security. Traoré turned to other partners, seeking assistance from regional allies and exploring new military collaborations. He also focused on strengthening the national army, emphasizing the need for a self-reliant and capable defense force. This approach required substantial investment and training, but Traoré was committed to building a military that could protect the nation without foreign intervention. Beyond the immediate security concerns, Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso encompassed broader socio-economic reforms. He recognized that true independence could not be achieved through military might alone. Economic self-sufficiency was equally crucial. Under his leadership, efforts were made to reduce the country's dependence on foreign aid and investment. Traoré championed initiatives aimed at developing local industries, improving agricultural productivity, and fostering entrepreneurship. These measures were intended to create jobs, reduce poverty, and build a resilient economy capable of withstanding external pressures. Traoré's policies were met with mixed reactions both domestically and internationally. Within Burkina Faso, there was a sense of cautious optimism. Many citizens were inspired by his bold stance against colonial legacies and his commitment to national sovereignty. The international community, particularly Western nations, viewed Traoré's actions with skepticism and concern. Some criticized his approach as reckless, while others acknowledged the legitimacy of his aspirations for true independence. Despite the challenges and criticisms, Traoré remained steadfast in his mission. He believed that Burkina Faso could become a model for other African nations, striving to break free from the vestiges of colonialism. His leadership inspired a renewed sense of national pride and identity. Schools and communities across the country began to emphasize the importance of self-reliance and resilience, drawing on Burkina Faso's rich cultural heritage. As the years passed, Traoré's efforts began to bear fruit. The security situation, while still precarious, showed signs of improvement. The Burkinabe military grew more proficient and capable, increasingly able to counter threats without external assistance. Economically, the country made strides in reducing its dependency on foreign aid. Local industries started to thrive, and the agricultural sector saw significant advancements due to investments in modern techniques and infrastructure. Traoré's journey was far from over, and the road ahead remained fraught with obstacles. However, his ascent to power and his unwavering commitment to independence had set Burkina Faso on a new trajectory. His leadership challenged the status quo and forced both the nation and the international community to rethink the dynamics of power and influence in Africa. In the end, Captain Ibrahim Traoré's story is one of resilience, courage, and vision. His determination to break free from the constraints of colonialism and to chart a new course for Burkina Faso stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of a nation. But wait, the story does not end here. This is just the beginning of Western hate for Traoré. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. From the moment Traoré announced his intention to cut ties with France, Western media outlets began to portray him as a reckless and inexperienced leader. Articles and reports highlighted the potential dangers of his decisions, predicting economic collapse and increased insecurity. This campaign of criticism was aimed at undermining Traoré's credibility both domestically and internationally. However, many viewed these reports as attempts to maintain Western dominance and discredit a leader striving for genuine independence. Misinformation campaigns also became a significant tool in the arsenal of Traoré's adversaries. False reports about his administration's actions and intentions were spread through various channels, including social media and international news outlets. These efforts aimed to sow discord within Burkina Faso and among its allies. Despite these attempts to destabilize his leadership, Traoré maintained his focus on strengthening national unity and resilience. As Traoré's policies began to take effect, the initial fears of economic collapse started to fade. Instead, Burkina Faso saw a resurgence of local industries and a renewed sense of self-reliance. Traoré encouraged investment in agriculture, technology, and education, aiming to create a sustainable and diversified economy. His vision was to free Burkina Faso from its dependency on foreign aid and to foster a sense of pride and ownership among its citizens. Traoré's administration worked tirelessly to implement social programs designed to uplift the most vulnerable segments of society. Healthcare and education became priorities, with significant investments in rural areas that had long been neglected. The emphasis on education was particularly significant, as it aimed to equip the younger generation with the skills and knowledge necessary to build a prosperous and self-sufficient nation. Meanwhile, Traoré's diplomatic efforts focused on strengthening regional alliances and fostering cooperation with other African nations. He believed that African unity was essential for the continent to break free from the shackles of neo-colonialism. His efforts were met with both support and resistance, but Traoré remained steadfast in his vision of a united and independent Africa. Western powers, however, did not sit idly by as Traoré's influence grew. Economic sanctions and diplomatic pressures were exerted in an attempt to coerce Burkina Faso back into the fold. These measures created significant challenges for Traoré's administration, but they also served to galvanize the resolve of the Burkinabe people. National pride and a sense of collective purpose began to flourish, as citizens rallied behind their leader in the face of external pressures. Traoré's leadership style, characterized by transparency and inclusiveness, also played a crucial role in maintaining domestic support. He held regular town hall meetings, inviting citizens to voice their concerns and suggestions. This approach helped to foster a sense of community and shared responsibility, further solidifying the bonds between the government and the people. As time went on, the narrative surrounding Traoré began to shift. While international media continued to criticize his policies, many began to acknowledge the positive changes occurring within Burkina Faso. Reports of economic recovery and social progress began to emerge, painting a more balanced picture of Traoré's tenure. But media misinformation is not the only crazy thing. West did a lot more. And what was that? The most direct threats to Traoré's life came in the form of assassination attempts. These attacks, orchestrated by those who saw his defiance as a threat to their interests, were meant to eliminate him and re-establish control over Burkina Faso. Each attempt on his life only seemed to strengthen his resolve and the support of the Burkinabe people. Traoré's survival became a symbol of resistance against external oppression and a testament to his unwavering commitment to his vision for the country. As Traoré navigated the complexities of governing Burkina Faso, he faced formidable challenges both domestically and internationally. His presidency began amidst a wave of optimism following his election, hailed as a beacon of hope for a nation grappling with socioeconomic disparities and political instability. However, entrenched interests, both local and international, viewed his progressive policies with suspicion. The first significant threat to Traoré's leadership surfaced shortly after his inauguration. A covert operation, allegedly orchestrated by foreign elements with ties to Burkina Faso's former colonial powers, aimed to destabilize his government. Intelligence reports suggested a clandestine network operating within the country, funneling funds to opposition groups and sowing discord among the populace. One particularly alarming incident occurred during a state visit to a neighboring country. Intelligence sources uncovered a plot to ambush Traoré's convoy en route to a diplomatic summit. The plan, meticulously crafted by mercenaries with allegiances to foreign entities, underscored the lengths to which detractors would go to undermine his administration. Swift action by Burkina Faso's security apparatus averted disaster, but the incident underscored the precarious nature of Traoré's presidency. Undeterred by these threats, Traoré embarked on an ambitious agenda aimed at fostering national unity and economic prosperity. His administration implemented sweeping reforms to bolster Burkina Faso's infrastructure, expand access to education and healthcare, and promote sustainable development. These initiatives garnered widespread support among the populace, but drew criticism from vested interests resistant to change. Despite the challenges, Traoré's leadership style resonated with many Burkinabés, who viewed him as a symbol of resilience and progress. His ability to navigate turbulent waters while maintaining a steadfast commitment to democratic principles earned him admiration both at home and abroad. International observers praised his efforts to strengthen regional cooperation and enhance Burkina Faso's standing on the global stage. However, the specter of external interference continued to loom large over Traoré's presidency. Allegations of covert operations and subversive activities persisted, fueled by geopolitical rivalries and competing economic interests. The West's role in shaping Burkina Faso's political landscape remained a subject of intense debate, with critics pointing to historical precedents of interventionism and neo-colonialism. As Traoré's tenure progressed, he faced mounting pressure to balance competing demands for reform and stability. His strategic alliances with regional partners and efforts to diversify Burkina Faso's economy were hailed as pivotal steps towards long-term prosperity. Yet, the persistent threat of external meddling posed a formidable challenge to his vision of a sovereign and self-reliant nation. Is Traoré the only one under Western hate, or were there others? Traoré's struggle is not an isolated case. Historically, African leaders like Patrice Lumumba, Muammar Gaddafi, and Thomas Sankara faced similar opposition from Western powers due to their efforts to enable Africa's socio-political and economic systems to operate independently of Western influence. These leaders were frequently targeted and ultimately assassinated, illustrating the serious threat they posed to Western dominance. Traoré is acutely aware of this history, and carries on the legacy of leaders like Sankara, who tirelessly fought for Burkina Faso's independence during the 1980s. Specifically, the West targets leaders who refuse to become their puppets but prioritize their nation's interests. This pattern of interference spans decades and continues to shape the political landscape of many African nations today. Patrice Lumumba, the first democratically elected Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC), faced immense opposition from Belgian and American interests after advocating for immediate independence and national unity. Lumumba's vision for a united Congo, free from colonial exploitation, threatened the economic interests of Western corporations and the strategic interests of Cold War powers. His assassination in 1961, backed by Western intelligence agencies, marked a tragic chapter in Congo's history and highlighted the lengths to which external powers would go to maintain control. Similarly, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya emerged as a formidable leader who challenged Western hegemony in North Africa and advocated for Pan-African unity and economic sovereignty. Gaddafi's ambitious plans for regional integration and resource nationalization posed a direct challenge to Western economic interests and geopolitical influence in the region. His efforts to create an independent African currency, backed by Libya's vast oil reserves, and his support for anti-imperialist movements across the continent drew the ire of Western powers. Gaddafi's brutal demise during the 2011 NATO-led intervention in Libya underscored the West's determination to thwart leaders who dared to chart a course independent of Western dominance. Thomas Sankara, often referred to as Africa's Che Guevara, rose to power in Burkina Faso in 1983 through a popular revolution that sought to break free from neo-colonial influences. Sankara's socialist policies aimed at reducing poverty, empowering women, and promoting self-sufficiency in food and energy threatened the economic interests of former colonial powers and multinational corporations operating in the region. His uncompromising stance against foreign debt and his calls for African unity made him a target of covert operations and subversive campaigns backed by Western governments. Sankara's assassination in 1987, orchestrated by his former comrade Blaise Compaoré with alleged Western support, marked the end of a promising era of progressive change in Burkina Faso. These examples highlight a recurring pattern. African leaders who prioritize national sovereignty and socioeconomic development often find themselves at odds with Western powers seeking to maintain influence and control. The West's hostility towards such leaders extends beyond mere diplomatic disputes. It encompasses covert operations, economic sabotage, and, in some cases, outright military intervention to preserve their interests. And are there currently any leaders who are doing the same as Traoré? What do these actions mean for Africa? Traoré's actions are part of a larger continental movement where African leaders resist Western influence. For example, William Ruto of Kenya has emerged as a vocal critic of what he perceives as the patronizing treatment of African leaders by Western powers. Ruto has called for respect and egalitarian diplomacy, arguing that African nations should be treated as equals rather than recipients of aid with conditionalities that undermine their sovereignty. His stance reflects a growing sentiment among African leaders who seek to assert their nation's autonomy and reduce dependency on foreign assistance that often comes with strings attached. Paul Kagame of Rwanda has pursued a different approach, focusing on economic development and national unity while maintaining a critical stance towards Western interference. Kagame's leadership has been marked by efforts to rebuild Rwanda after the devastating genocide of 1994, prioritizing infrastructure development, education, and healthcare. His administration has also clashed with Western journalists and critics over their portrayal of Rwanda and their perceived condescension towards African nations. Kagame has argued for a more balanced and respectful dialogue between Africa and the West, emphasizing Rwanda's right to self-determination and development without undue external interference. These leaders share a common commitment to reducing Africa's dependency on foreign aid and asserting their country's sovereignty in international affairs. Their actions are not merely symbolic, but have tangible implications for Africa's future. By challenging Western dominance and advocating for more equitable relations, these leaders seek to empower African nations economically, politically, and socially. For Africa, These actions signify a renewed sense of agency and responsibility in shaping its destiny. They challenge long-standing narratives of Africa as a passive recipient of aid and development assistance, instead emphasizing African leadership and innovation in addressing the continent's challenges. By prioritizing sovereignty and national development agendas, these leaders inspire a generation of Africans to envision a future where the continent's potential is realized on its terms. Moreover, these leaders' resistance to Western influence resonates with broader sentiments of anti-imperialism and Pan-Africanism, advocating for unity and solidarity among African nations. They reject the notion that Africa's progress must be dictated or supervised by external actors, asserting the right of African nations to pursue their paths to development and prosperity. Do you think the West will also take severe actions against current leaders like it did in the past? Will the masses allow the West to do something with their beloved leaders? Let us know in the comment section. Why can't the West take its hands off Africa? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.